All right, welcome back to Blue by 90. I am Justin. I'm joined by Kaylin and Jack as always, and today we have a special guest with us, Steven Ozentowski from Mason Brew. He is the video guy officially. That is his official title there. So check him out. What's the YouTube channel there? Just Mason Brew.
Yeah, it's Maize Brew SB Nation channel, I think is the full name. But if you just search Maize Brew, that'll get you where you need to go there on YouTube.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, he's got a ton of stuff on there. We'll obviously get into it, but a lot of the video breakdowns, which we love to watch. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball then. And if you want to share your screen, we can take a look, and then I'm sure we'll have plenty of questions.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go through. I have like 4 plays probably. We can do less. It depends how long. It depends how long it takes. But I'll show a couple run plays. And then I'll do some passes. I'll try to get at least one QB scramble as well because I was pulling my hair out throughout the game for those. Okay, so let's just watch the play here first. You guys can see my screen?
Yep.
Is it shared? Okay. All right, so this first one, it may not look like a lot. This is just a, like, what is that, 9-yard gain. But this one I include just because I really love this angle. And this play is all about gap integrity. And, oops, sorry, I was drawing a route on the screen about the play that you had brought up on offense where there were 2 guys over each other.
Gotcha.
So that's why that was. So this is all about gap integrity. And let's just look at kind of the backside first. So this is just, I believe it's just an inside zone. Yeah, no one's pulling here, just inside zone. You can see the gap where it goes here. So let's just, again, look at the left side here. So if we're splitting down the center right here, you're having Shibley on the backside A gap here. You're going to have Jeter. He's responsible for this gap. Who is this? This is Gabe Newberg. He's responsible for here. And then you have Barrett on the outside. All right. So these guys are all responsible for these gaps. Just don't let anything through here. And you can notice their gap play just by where their helmets are for like guys down the line of scrimmage. They're just putting their helmet there. Then the key for them is just stand them up. Don't get like pushed off the line. Keep your hips pointed forward, not sideways. So you can see 99 on the edge there. Newberg needs to do a little bit better, not getting turned like that. So if you get turned, that creates kind of a lane. But like Shibley's doing really well. He pops the center really well there and comes down fast to get into that gap. Jeter's pushing his guy back pretty well. So everyone is there, right? You can even see Barrett fighting off the edge. He's getting his gap integrity to the outside, and that's important. So on the backside, everyone's doing well. Everyone's here. There's like no real gap. If this bounces backside, every gap here is accounted for. So if you go play side, it looks pretty good so far. You have Pay, who's doing really well. His job is the outside contain here. He's just going to crash down here, engage with his like inside shoulder here, and just collapse down. Just go down as much as you can, constrict this interior movement here. And then you're going to have Josh Ross coming down right here to this is the play side B gap. And then you need Hinton. You can see him on play side A gap, right? So we already established backside's good. So now it just comes down to these 3 guys. If they can get into their gap, this is just inside zone run, really simple. If they can constrict those gaps, then you're there, right? You can see Ross could do a little bit better to shade inside there, but you can see Pay is right there in case this is a read. You can see, I don't think they actually did a keep here. But if the quarterback is keeping, Pay's right there. He constricted that down really well. Ross is engaged with 53, but right there you can see him fighting to the inside. That's because he's responsible for that gap. So this just comes down, like we've established all of those guys are doing well. This comes down to Hinton, and he's there, right? He's right there on the play side A gap, but then he just shoves his guy into that gap, right? And now if you watch right at like the crux of the play, you have Ross who's correctly fighting inside here, but Hinton just kind of like shucked his guy, but right into this gap that he needs to beat. So like Shibley has to fall off here, but it's a tough job for him because he had the backside A gap for anything coming here. Same with these guys. They're doing their jobs. So him just shucking 73, if we go back, him doing that completely gives up his gap that he needs to be
wide
there.
Open gap.
Yeah, and then you're free. And that's the difference between like if he's actually there, then that's maybe a 2-yard gain with some push, maybe 3 yards. And that's a win on first down. That's what you want. Instead, Shibley does well to fall off his tackle. And then you have Dax Hill coming down. But that's, an easy 7, 8, 9 yards. And think of what that does for your offense when it's 2nd and 2 versus 2nd and 8, 2nd and 7. And that's just like a consistent issue where all it takes is that one guy, all right? One guy to fall off there, and credit the running back for finding that.
Yeah.
But that's exactly where the play was going. So it's like a combination of the one guy in like the most important gap there, losing that gap integrity.
And that's something I feel like we at least myself, I noticed. I mean, it seemed like that was happening this whole entire drive. I mean, they were just picking up yards like it was nothing. Like they were going up against a 2-man touch team.
Yeah.
Is that what you saw majority of the drive? Is holes that were supposed to be, or gaps that were supposed to be covered, are just not being covered, and guys are taking the wrong gaps? Or is Penn State's O-line that good at blocking, or is Michigan's D-line just that bad?
So I think the D-line overall did well. I think there was a lot of missed edge contain. And I think I have a play here where it was very similar, but there are a lot of plays that should have been bottled up, especially I think this was later in the game too, that Michigan gave up like big chunk, like 20-yard gains because of their lack of edge contain. So I think it like the defensive line, don't get me wrong, there was a play here that Jess Spate just got absolutely owned on. And there are moments for this defensive line where they're getting blown out, but it wasn't like a consistent thing where they were getting pushed downfield all the time. It was more of a like one issue here or there. And like I gave more credit to the running backs for Penn State for finding those than like really bad on Michigan's defensive line. I think the linebackers had a really rough game this time too.
The linebackers have had a really rough year.
Yeah. And I've liked Shibley. I think he's gonna he graded out, I think, probably pretty poorly in this game. But that's just from what I saw. But so this is actually going to show you kind of a similar play here where can we move on to this next one? Any other?
Yeah.
You guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right. So this next one, similar run inside zone here. You can see he's bounced out, and that one killed me. This was where
this was so frustrating, man.
This was the point in the game where I'm like, Michigan's going to lose this game. Where I was like, you bottled it up. Like they did. They bottled this up really well. Let me go to the different angle here. And they need to do more angles like this. If there was a brief aside, if there was an ESPN channel that had all 22,
I'd watch it. Yeah.
I would pay $100 a month for that channel without a doubt. Without a doubt. Okay. So like if I just scrub through this, you can see there's nowhere for him to go. And I'll go through like each of the assignments here, but like there was nowhere for him to go. Like he should have been there. Like he should have been killed. And Michigan does really well across the defensive line as a whole here. All right. So looking at the backside, Upshaw just has outside contain. He's coming here, double team here. And I think this is Hinton who actually does an excellent, he does okay here. His whole job is to just like not give up a ton of ground. If we go to like a different angle, let's go to a different angle just to see that double team. He does well. Like that's hard to do. That's actually Jess Spate. So Jess Spate does a good job there. Like he has a double team. That's a tough job. And he's like crashing inside and not letting anyone release or get any movement. So that's like exactly what you need from that guy. So Jess Spate does really well. And what that also does with him not getting blown out, that gives room for Josh Ross. You can see this is the designed location of this run for this running back. And that's because they want one of these guys to release to the linebacker and pick him up. This guy wants to fill this gap. Mm-hmm. The power of a double team should allow one of these guys to release to this linebacker. Instead, Jess Spate does a good job to actually get them there, and Josh Ross is there pretty free to fill that gap. So that's really important. And then there's another double team here on the play side. I guess you call this backside. But anyway, double team here on Chris Hinton. And he does well too, where it's another double where they're going to try to get off to the linebacker. And he, again, stands it up. So you have linebackers correctly filling the gaps there. And then on the other side, I think this is Kemp. He's crashing inside here. So again, look at the gaps here. So you have this gap by the double team, outside here for Upshaw, filled the gap here. All these guys did well. You're going to have this gap right here filled well from Jeter. And then you're going to have an interesting little like move here for Kemp to get inside. And then Shibley's coming around on the outside contain. And then, so you see that's done really well from everyone there. Everyone's in their gaps. You even have Shibley doing well to have contain right here. I think one thing he should do, he should get engaged with this guy, but get further upfield, right? If you look at just where they are in their alignment, this is like right at the 50. He's maybe at like the 48. If he's able to work up into the side right here, just get your forearm right into this guy's hip, then that establishes this edge a lot easier where he's running into, and you can even shade 45 degrees this way, you're there. Instead, he has to like, there's a little bit of a rounded, like you can see there's like a yard and a half gap. That's big for establishing that edge. And then the other thing,
he almost takes himself out of the play by like getting himself blocked by 71 there.
He puts himself in a position to be affected there, right? Because 71 at this point still has that leverage because of that extra yard right here. You give the ability for 71 to reach out. Imagine if Shibley is engaging just like a little bit closer here, right here into the hip, this guy's not going to be able to get his arm out around it. You could technically maybe even call this a hold from 71 because he does kind of bear hug right there. You could call that a hold, but again, Shibley put himself in that position for that arm to come across in the first place. The other issue is, so like this is the correct play that could have been played better from Shibley being right here. The issue here as well is that you have Barrett crashing around the edge here. He takes himself completely out of this play, where he's supposed to have like this, what is this? The C gap for Shibley here. He has responsibility for that, but then anything to the outside, that is the responsibility of Barrett on the edge. And what he does is he just completely takes himself out of the play, right? Like where are you going, man?
He should not be trying to get upfield at all in that position. He's got to stay on the line of scrimmage and just literally hold the guy. And you keep him there. And if they try and stretch it out beyond you, you just continue to stretch out with them, right? And stretch him out to the sideline.
What he should
I was gonna say, from my perspective, he looks more like a pass rusher there. Like he's expecting maybe an RPO, or I don't know what he's expecting. But when you put that out there initially, I was like, yeah, it's definitely on Barrett. It's hit, like he should have been getting inside of that tight end on the corner there to stop that play. But once you look through that and you see Shibley's got this wide open hole to just cut through and stop that play before it even gains any yards. I mean, that's just brutal. That's frustrating.
Yeah. His assignment here should be blow up this guy as hard as you can, and then based off of what, use your eyes and like do a couple shuffles. So if you can blow this guy up, keep your outside arm free, and do a couple shuffles inside, if you get good movement there, then make your movement from there. But he has to obey his run assignment here instead of, like you said, it does appear he's trying to beat this guy on a pass rush, where he really just should be, I want to destroy this guy, get as much movement inside to constrict anything here. And then if it's a pass rush, that still initial contact would give him enough room to do so after the fact.
Go either way. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. But he's abandoning his he's abandoning his run assignment there in lieu of that pass rush. Because if it was a pass, he'd be there. But he has to understand the value in blowing this guy up first, and that little bit of patience would have gone a long way. So he takes himself out of that play.
This is a classic. It's a really good representation of, to be good in football and have a successful play, you truly have to have all 11 guys do their jobs every single play, right? Like, because this is 10 guys, 10 and a half guys do their job. And then it's just one and maybe two guys kind of half do their job wrong, and it's all of a sudden a huge play for Penn State.
Yeah, because Shibley doesn't even do a bad job here. Right. He just doesn't do it like really well. You know, like he does a fine job. He just doesn't do a great job.
He's also just he's not athletic enough to give up that little bit. You know, if he was bigger and more athletic, then he would be able to get off that block and probably make that tackle, but he's just not there, you know, body size and athletic wise.
Yeah. So that one's frustrating. And this was play, I'm going to reference this. This was, what was the time on this? This was 11:26 in the fourth quarter, or if you watch the video from the live stream on the channel, it's play 17, if you want to reference that. And then, let's see. Maybe one more play.
The first one was play 4, I think, too, if we didn't say that.
Yeah, let me check that. Yeah, that was play 4. It's 11:29 in the first quarter. Okay, let's do a quick one, just a slant. And this happened. This is almost identical to another play against Dax Hill. This one's against Brad Hawkins here. And it's just a simple slant that he just gets beat on, and then just a ton of missed tackles.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I remember that.
There were lots of missed tackles.
Lot. It looked like we're looking back at Rich Rod's teams.
I thought Michigan hadn't really had too many missed tackles earlier in this year, and then against Penn State it was like left and right.
Yeah. And this is play number 2. This is 13:06. So we're going back in time on this one. But I wanted to look at run first, and then now we're looking at pass. So, like, I don't know. Looking at the pass rush, like, there's nothing a whole lot that I really care about in the pass rush here. It's just a quick slant. So, like, yeah, Michigan's running a stunt here. Actually, one thing to point out, this stunt is extremely late. I think that's just Spate. Watch how just late he is on the stunt overall, where it's just like, it's the point of a stunt is the point of a stunt is just to overwhelm and make the decision really tough for the offensive line, because it's like, wow, I got 2 guys crossing paths here, I have to decide which one to go to, and here there's like no real decision making. It's like, okay, I have this guy, and you give the guard, who, you know, maybe this guard initially thinks I'm going to pick up this guy, he crosses his face, and then he sees this guy and he has plenty of time to react to that.
I mean, I think the funny thing about that video is you see everybody else is ready to rush, and just Spate is just so far behind.
He's still getting out of his stance.
It's still
it's
down,
just really late. Yeah, it's just really late. And then the blitz from there's got to be Shibley coming. Like, he does fine on the blitz. It's just a quick slant. So, like, no pass rush. Even if that stunt was run correctly, nothing was ever getting there. But that's just like a nitpick I had with like that stunt, or just Spate just wasn't going to get there. And this is tough because, like, this is just it's probably the hardest job as any player is to guard against this slant, because this guy is able to plant, have momentum, and then cut inside, and you're supposed to, like, look at all the room that this guy has to catch against outside alignment. And I don't know the whole philosophy on outside alignment, inside alignment for these safeties, especially without Bob Shoop coaching them up. So I don't know what they're like. What I think my issue here is, like, this is like a flat-footed Hawkins here, where I think he needs to just be shuffling his feet more, where you see like a little bit of a shuffle, but like at the time of the cut, he's pretty much flat-footed. And that's just really, like, Dax Hill got burned by this too, where he was similarly flat-footed, where like no athlete is going to be able to react to that better than this. Right? Like no athlete's going to break up that pass unless you have like a different alignment or like extremely good technique. And I don't think either of those things happened. So like, even with, it's just a really tough play to break up. And like another aspect to like really make them pay is to like really lay a lick on this guy. So like Dax Hill is coming down really hard, and appropriately so, but like he just doesn't wrap up. So like the more you can like really hurt those wide receivers, not like actually hurt them, but like make them think twice about coming across on a slant and like getting nailed by a safety, then you can like maybe get a drop, maybe get them like a little bit less confident in their routes. So like I'm fine with like them actually completing this pass, but they have to make them pay. With a safety coming down like Dax Hill, you got to like absolutely demolish that guy to make him second guess that on the next down, and he just doesn't wrap up. So I mean, you can call that just poor technique, like poor luck, like whatever you want to call it. But
Steven,
then it's
can you go back to the beginning of that play?
Sure.
I just want to see something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that bothers me the most with that is that Hawkins, as an inside guy, is playing off coverage on it. I mean, he's 6 yards off the line of scrimmage, right? And you've got Dax up there as a safety, and I mean, I see these. You know, he's probably trying to help the top of the screen there. I can't tell who that is. If that's Vincent Gray or whoever. But I mean, if you're playing 6 yards off the line of scrimmage, whether that's an audible by Clifford or not, I mean, you got to think that's just an easy slant. That's an easy first down, right?
Yeah. I mean, and this is early in the game, so you like in terms of like adjustments, where early on you don't know if they're going to go to the fades a whole lot. You don't know kind of like what their bread and butter is going to be. It turned out to be slants. So like, I know that like at least my initial assessment here, and I need to get better about X's and O's overall, but he's dropping just to be like the middle, like it's just cover one. He's just the deep safety here. So it makes sense that his eyes are in the right place for like any sort of slant, but he does have like middle responsibility. Like he's the don't let any guy over the top of you. So he's like playing for any sort of like fake slant and go or like things like that. So like it makes sense, but But yeah, in
for
terms
me,
of
like for Dax, I feel like he's fine, but he's there for a reason, right? So why is Hawkins not closer to the line of
to be
scrimmage to
honest,
break that up right away?
my thing there is yes, he should probably be playing at like the Michigan 40 or the other 49. He should probably be playing 2 yards closer to the receiver
To disrupt
but
the play somewhat, right?
you cannot let that guy doesn't get touched until
Right.
8 yards down the field. You cannot just let any receiver, especially a slot, go completely untouched without at least a bump.
Right.
Until 8-9 yards down the field. They're going to complete something 99% of the time if that's the case.
Yeah. And I'm always aware of like, okay, if he does line up right here, what does that actually give the offense with that alignment? And that's something that you like have to consider that I just don't know. So like
Right.
you're right that him not being up here allows for a free cut here. If he's up here and he's allowed to get his hands on him, that just makes it easier on him to like just disrupt this sort of route.
Right.
But if you watch the corners here as well, they're not playing like press man. Like they're giving free releases here, and I think that was an adjustment made because they're like trying to simplify the game for them, where it's like don't worry about the release because we've been picking up a million penalties and like holding penalties have killed us.
Right.
So I think it's kind of like focus on like your technique just in your coverage, not like the jam and like turn and run.
Bend but don't break type.
Exactly. So I think this could be an
Gotcha.
aspect of that where it's like we just don't want to make those mistakes. Like we don't want to get burned. So you could like that's my like assumption there. But you're right. If he's up there, it's not as easy of a route because you're right. He's just able to run as easy of a route as you can on a slant without any disruption. So I think there's like other things to consider there, but you're 100% right. That quickness that he's able to get to that slant is a part of that alignment as well. So,
and I also think, my issue with the secondary is, and this is run game, this is pass game. Dax Hill makes way too many plays. He should not be the first one to a tackle like 75% of the time, but he is. And it's just a fact of that Dax Hill is the last man of defense, and thank God for Dax Hill, because if we didn't have a 5-star safety back there right now, it would be really bad news. He has made so many tackles. He's bailed out those linebackers so many times where he starts off as the farthest guy away from the ball and ends up making the tackle. And I'm like, dude, Josh Ross or McGrone or Shibley or whoever it is should have been there 10 steps ago. But still, Dax Hill is thankfully that fast that he can get there. He didn't make the play on this one. It was a missed tackle, but like during the season as a whole, he has made so many plays where he shouldn't be the guy making the tackle.
Yeah. And I also think you have to think if you're Michigan, you want him to be able to affect as many plays as possible too. You have so many holes on defense where keeping him as a safety, where I know there was talk early of him moving to cornerback and there's like some pushback there, but like you can also put that as like Michigan wants him to be like affecting a play as much as possible because of what he can bring. So, but you're right that he's also like bailed out a lot, and him especially like covering some fades in this game came up huge. He was excellent at that. Okay, I think I have 2 more plays, and I'll try to keep these a little quick. So this one, I don't really want to look a whole lot at the play, but this is late. This is play 19 on the video. It's 9:13 in the 4th quarter now. And the main thing I want to look at this is the adjustment that Penn State did because of how well their slants were doing. Okay. And this one also killed me. This was like, the 3rd and 7, and then you pick that up right down to the 3-yard line. I was like, that just kills me. Yeah. So like the main, like you don't have to look at anything down at the bottom of your screen or any really, again, it's a quick pass. So there's not really like a whole lot on the pass rush to bring in because there's only 4. And I think Penn State has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5. So nothing really on pass rush. We can like just move forward there. Like Michigan runs a cute little stunt, but it's not going to get there on this quick of a pass. So nothing really pay attention there to. The interesting aspect for me here is that you have 26 out of the backfield running like a little wheel route, and that's going to take Josh Ross out of here. Josh Ross is a big aspect of this play being successful because you vacate this because he has the responsibility to run with this guy in the wheel route. He's just going to go out here. He's going to just completely remove that. On this play, you're going to have this guy just do like an initial, what looks like a slant, just like an inside release. And then I think it's called a stick route where he's just going to plant and then he's going to run outside.
It's like a Frisco
Sure.
route.
Yeah. And this play is less of me like saying bad on the defense. And it's more like this is a counter move, like schematically, because of how well they've done on the slants all game. Because they're telling the safeties, especially on this play where the cornerback is just dropping off here in the flat, he's staying there, and you're having the safety watch that slant. And this is like an adjustment Michigan made where it's like, okay, our guys on, it looks like it's man-to-man coverage on this route, and this guy's going to go inside. So if I'm Penn State, I'm looking at this and saying like, okay, maybe this guy follows, but then like another adjustment is take this guy completely out of it because they're just running a shitload of slants all game. So since this guy's going to drop off and this safety's going to come down, he's coming down really hard because they've been beat time and time again from the slant. So they're just coaching. I think this is Reynolds. Just come down on this slant. They've been running it all game, and you just be right here. This is where you need to get on any sort of pass play. And you can see that's why his eyes are here. He's looking. He's like, okay, it's going to be a slant. It's coming inside. And he's running down really hard at that point, right? If this is a traditional slant, this is exactly where he needs to be to break up this pass. But instead, it's just oops, and he just stops and runs. So then, like, the whole key of this is getting this safety to be on the inside. And that's where he should be going, right? That's exactly where he should be going. Beat this inside so then you can interrupt this pass. And
if it's a slant, he actually played it really well.
Yeah,
right?
he's perfect. Yeah. He's perfect. But since it's going out there, as soon as he plants, where's this guy? This guy's right here on the inside. There's just no conceivable way that you can actually defend this pass if it's a well-thrown ball. It's actually a little bit low. It's actually a really good catch from the wide receiver. And it's not bad from Reynolds. Like, him being able to make that tackle is actually pretty impressive given how like well that route is run and how like despite being throw, that's the appropriate location for that ball. So like that's just a thing where it's like if you're able to schematically beat a team over and over with a slant, then you get them to bite with their adjustment, and that's your counter to that adjustment. And that's just what
that receiver also, if they run that one more step and he's running more towards the sideline instead of just he turns and stops instead of actually going towards the sideline. If he catches that going towards the sideline, it's a touchdown to easy.
Mm-hmm.
That's just good game time coaching, right?
Yeah, fantastic scheme by Franklin.
And I bet that Michigan showed this. I would have to go back and look, but them passing off this guy, like the corner dropping here and the safety coming up, I have to imagine that Michigan did this earlier than this point, right? Where it's like, if this route is run against man-to-man, it's not as effective because this guy's like right in his hip pocket. There's really no room for this guy to make this motion after that because this guy's going to at least be in the way, right? Like he's going to be like right behind him at that point.
It might be pass interference or something because he's going to run him over probably.
Right. So but the whole spacing aspect of this play doesn't really work if it's in man. So I think this is like Michigan or Penn State noticed what the transfer from the cornerback to the safety coming down on that. And that's the exact route that beats it. So because you lose all of your outside leverage because of that route. Okay, one more, and I have to think of which one this is. There's two. Oh, it's this one. Oh, this one killed me. This is 3rd and 6.
I hope it's not a run by Clifford.
Hey, welcome back.
Oh, here we go. Put me
through
my nightmares again.
This play 15. It's about 3:15 in the third quarter. 3:17. So yeah, this one again is the case where Michigan had everything they wanted. So look at just the wide receivers at this point. All right, everyone's pretty well covered, right? You could say number 5, G-Man Green, but given his 3rd and 6, like he probably would be able to make the play anyway. He's like, there's not a whole lot of good options at this point. You have Shibley going out on the running back, so that's not like a good option. All other routes that we see here at least aren't open at the time that the quarterback is scrambling. So the main thing here is it's a missed stunt. So you have defensive ends. They're working to the outside here. And that's the same with, the edge rushers. So in this case, it's Hawkins on the left side there. Is that Hawkins? No, that's who's 26?
Who's 26?
Khalil Mullings, I think.
Oh shit!
Right?
Yeah. Wow, he got in the game.
Yeah, I think
I was hoping to see him. Yeah, I think you're right.
That's Khalil Mullings. So yeah, he's going to the outside there, and there's a definitive step. If you watch the left side of these rushers, you can see after like 2 or 3 steps, they all make a deliberate motion here.
Yeah.
And that deliberate motion is Khalil Mullings is going to go to the outside. Let's back up. You're going to have both Josh Ross and Kwity Paye. They're going to take like 2 steps and dive inside.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 steps, dive inside. And this whole goal is to do what? With Khalil Mullings heading to the outside, that occupies the offensive tackle. With Paye coming to the inside, that occupies the guard. And with Ross diving inside the center, that occupies the center. And then you have no one else if someone is coming here. And this arrow gives it away. It's supposed to be Welshoff, right? Because with Paye and Ross cutting across the face of these guys, that takes away any potential hole here. If he wants to bail out, that's fine, because these guys' their whole operation here is just go this way, cut across the face, and watch where they actually end up. Just watch Paye and Ross. They would, without that motion, they would continue on that path. They're watching the quarterback, but you can see like that any area there is quickly closed off from Ross. If that guy really wants to get there, it's either holding, like if Clifford's trying to go and escape this way, it's either going to be holding on 62 or Ross is going to be right here. And you have Paye to clean up as well. So the issue is you have this gap that's really well formed here for Clifford to escape from.
Right.
But the motion of the left side of the defensive line and the blitz is supposed to open that up for Welshoff. So Welshoff is supposed to take a step and then loop around, because they have no more bodies on the right side of the offensive line to account for that. Right? The whole step motion right there of Khalil Mullings to the outside, Paye to the inside, Ross to the inside, that opens up the opportunity for Welshoff to be looping right here. If he was actually looping, he'd be right about here. And this actually gets the exact motion out of Clifford that you want. He's like, the edge rushers are doing their job. They're getting me to step up in their pocket.
Yeah.
And that's forcing him up. And
then Welshoff can come around, and he probably doesn't even see Clifford. Probably doesn't even see Welshoff until Welshoff's in his jaw.
That's the whole point. Chin. That's the whole point. How is he supposed to see between this mess? All he sees is momentum for guys going this way. So that's why his instinct is supposed to take him right here. And then you just have Welshoff, a German boy, waiting for you right here. That's it.
I mean, to me, it looks like Welshoff just like completely read that play wrong, or didn't read it wrong. He just executed it incredibly poorly.
Yeah, it looks like he's actually doing like the same exact movement from Ross. If you watch like his steps and his technique, where really he just missed the call. If he's looping there, that play is dead. And that's it. Like, you can't put that on Shibley because Shibley's going out on the flat. He has to. Like, this is his responsibility. So, like, that's it. Everyone else is, like, doing okay. And just like we were saying earlier, all it takes is that one missed read, that one missed gap integrity, whatever. And Welshoff also gets demolished on that play.
He's literally pancaked in the frame right now.
But, like, now you're just,
that was a tough one. That was a tough one for him to watch in film on Monday, I'm sure.
So that's really the story, where it's like gap integrity, edge contain. I'll actually show one quick one because I won't even go through the play, but it was just like not just one thing. Where I'll just play it real quick, and we only have to go through it. Where it's just alignment. This is just the offense taking what the defense is giving them, right? Yeah. So Michigan is like scheming for maybe like a deep, if they're expecting a fly route or something on the outside, but you just have. You have three.
The thing is, like, you have to have
somebody on them. Come on.
Right.
It bothers me so much when teams do that, because, like, you could literally just throw that. You don't even have to have a screenplay where he goes and bubbles out. Mm-hmm. You can throw it to him right now and just go and at least get 5 yards, So I get it, because you have to have a guy you have to have somebody that stays deep just in case, but, like, it frustrates me so much.
Yeah, that's the thing. The offense is playing well to what the defense is giving them. And Michigan has to make those sacrifices because of deficiencies in certain areas that they've had throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't play to everything, right? So your alignment here to help out over the top or whatever it may be.
Barrett? Who's in the middle of the field there?
Yeah, this is Barrett.
Yeah. I think Barrett's got to be on top of that slot guy then, because who's he covering up? There's no tight end on that side. If he's back, I think he's got to be over on top of that guy for the short game, and then Reynolds or Hawkins, whoever's back there, should probably be on the deep end.
Yeah, I honestly don't know, because I think this is Jalen Harrell, 32. Yeah, Jalen Harrell. And like, he's not in coverage either. At least I wouldn't expect him to be. So I don't know. This is one where it's just like, I don't know, because that just looks way too easy, right? That's an easy 7 yards. So that's it. It's not just one thing, like it's just a comedy of errors, and Michigan was close on a lot of them, but it's not just one thing.
And to that point, I think that, obviously it looks like Michigan has gotten dominated all year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They've been close. It's little things that have, even with the lesser talent, it's little things that they are one, little gap away from making a play. And so that's where I think it's frustrating to people that look at it, more in depth, like you do and like we do sometimes, because in a broader scope, it looks like Michigan's just getting dominated. They get pushed off the ball. They get, beat deep, all this stuff. But in reality, every game except for Wisconsin, they've been close in, right? And every game you just picked out five plays where there were so many plays that if Michigan just makes one stop, against Penn State, they probably get the ball back and then they can go score. Same thing happened in the Michigan State game. Same thing honestly happened in the Indiana game. And Indiana is a good team. Yeah. And so that's where I think, yes, I'm over Don Brown, but like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on Don Brown as a whole? Because I think when you're looking at those schemes would work, most of the time if he got his guys in the right spots
if they're executing it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, Don Brown's a tough one, because in 2018, he just got out schemed because Brandon Watson just got exposed. In 2019, I think that was a lack of execution overall. Where when I went back through that film, it was less of like Michigan had guys accounted for it and they just weren't making plays. Now, that doesn't excuse the performance, and you can point to a lot of other reasons why a defense should be able to make up for a couple missed plays, but he's gone, in my opinion, mainly because of the Ohio State games. If he's able to even eke out one or two of those, but back-to-back games where they give up over 60 points, 50, 60 points in each of them, you just don't come back from that. And it's crazy, because he's had like top 10 overall defenses in both like points and yards every single year he's been here. And then this year he's like, it's like 93rd overall in yards and like 102nd overall in the nation in points. And it's just like a drop off of that extent is just, you're never going to survive. Like,
that's against 90% terrible teams.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of Indiana and Wisconsin, every one of those teams sucks ass, honestly.
Yeah. And my theory with, I think, the overall coaching staff, but I think mainly on defense, is Don Brown schemes around the best version of his players and Michigan self-scouts defensively worse than just about anyone, where I get it. You miss Ambry Thomas, and that's a huge piece, but the ability of the cornerbacks, you need to be able to look at them and say, like, teams are going to be able to key in on this and like make things work. And Michigan just is so reactionary when it comes to their adjustments for their deficiencies. And that goes back to like Brandon Watson. How did they not see the potential of his, he probably runs 4.6, 4.7, but when you're going against a 4.3 guy on crossing routes, it's just no shot. So I think the self-scouting and the lack of ability there to understand your deficiencies and to scheme around those deficiencies, that is essentially what doomed Don Brown, especially in this year where there are deficiencies everywhere. And it's such an aggressive defense. It's such an aggressive scheme that he's not able to coach them in a way that makes them successful because of a lack of talent and because of just how you have to make sacrifices on defense overall with the talent. And it's just not that's just not his style. So I think it's a myriad of issues, but that's the biggest one for me.
To me, how I like to put it with Don Brown is it just seems like there is no plan B. He's got his scheme and he wants to go with it, and there's no like you just said, there's no we have a bad safety, let's change our scheme a little bit to give him less responsibility and more on the corners or more on the linebackers or something. There's just no plan B. And so when the players aren't good enough to execute plan A, that's what you get. And that's what we're getting right now, especially. So,
well, the writing has literally been on the wall in the defensive meeting room, right? Solve your problems with aggression, right? There's no plan B.
Yep. It's just run through a brick wall until that brick wall goes down. And if it's not going down, hit it harder. So yeah, it's frustrating, I think, for a lot of Michigan fans, because I think that with a few, just a couple, a couple audibles, a couple scheme switches, Michigan's probably beating Ohio State, or I know that you're still giving up 60 points, but shit, Michigan's so close. I think they have been in the last 6 years up until now. That I think that's the frustrating thing for me, at least, is if you have a defensive coordinator, if it's Don Brown and he does what he does against the not so great teams, but then makes some adjustments and does that against the really good teams, then it's a whole different story.
Yep.
So.
Yep, you got it. I mean, you nailed it. There's nothing else to say there.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Any more questions for Steven before we let him go?
Do you think Harbaugh's the head coach next year?
The $1 million question.
I think the plan. I think they were so close. I think they were so close to signing a deal with him, and then COVID hit, and they were just thrown for a loop. And now they're in a place where they simply can't. So I think there's going to be a mutual parting of ways. I don't see it happening any other way. It's been that bad of a year, and it's been, it's Michigan. If Michigan had more years for Jim Harbaugh's contract right now, they would retain him. But it's the worst place for Michigan to be in, to have a guy with one more year in his contract, and you have to sign him for an extension in order for recruiting for your program to survive. And they just simply can't do that with the on-field performance. They just needed, if Michigan was 4-2 or even 3-3 without the Michigan State loss, I think he'd be okay. He did it's just bad. It's just bad enough that I think he's gone.
I have a little theory. Sorry, I have a little theory about that though. I think that if they don't play, obviously they're not playing this weekend, and if they don't play Ohio State, that might have saved his job, because 2-3 weeks ago, I thought, you know what, it's bad, but still it's not bad enough for Jim Harbaugh to be let go. And then every week they'd lose a game, or even going to overtime with Rutgers, it was still bad, So every time they took the field, it got worse. And it was a show for everybody on the, in the world that Michigan is terrible. So if Michigan goes out and plays this weekend, I wouldn't bet on them winning, right? So if they lose, then it's just one more game that it's a showcase that Jim Harbaugh can't get it done. And then if you play against Ohio State, then you obviously can't get it done. You're probably getting beat by 50. So I think these two games, if Ohio State does get canceled, then that might have saved his job.
Yeah, I could see it. I just think he's gone. I think he knows that he has to go, and I think he wants to get back to the NFL. Like at this point, I think he's like not like giving up, but like he wants to be doing a better job, and I feel like he's the time has passed for him to get there. That's my opinion, and I think he wants to do everything he can to ensure that Michigan isn't like nosediving. So that's I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I think Harbaugh's praying that the Ohio State game does happen because he knows, like you said, Steven, he's gone. Like, there's no way they're going to re-sign him unless there is some freaking miracle where Michigan can pull off the craziest upset of all time and actually beat Ohio State. That is the only way that I see him, Don Brown, whoever, saving their jobs. I think they're praying for that Ohio State game to happen because they know they're gone unless something crazy happens in that game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Fun spot we're at, huh?
Oh, man. Did not think we'd be talking about this in year 6 of Jim Harbaugh.
Yep, you and me both.
So over it. So, all right. Well, thank you, Steven. That was an awesome breakdown. Go check him out on YouTube, and you can see all the plays that he was talking about. Maize and Brew SBN. Is that correct?
Yeah. You can. I just tell people just search Maize and Brew on YouTube, and you'll find it. Okay. You'll get there.
So go check him out there. He's on Twitter. What's your Twitter?
Twitter at Steven Toski.
Okay. All right, cool. And then, so go check him out there. Go check out Maize and Brew. Obviously, him and Anthony Broom and some other guys there have some really good stuff. Great people over there. And then, I mean, this was fantastic. I could do this for hours, man. You do it for hours for your job.
I do, yeah.
I'm a little jealous. So, but you're probably like, I'm sure it gets old after some time, but yeah, I'm sure it's also a lot more fun if you're breaking down good plays, if you're breaking down touchdowns and great defensive plays. But unfortunately, we've been lacking those in 2020. So, So thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. We'd love to have you again. Are you a basketball guy too, or strictly football?
I am basketball. I've been watching basketball a lot this season. I have a couple of videos out on that. So I follow it all. This first year paying attention to hockey, which I think they're losing 7-4, which is a crazy game right now.
Oh.
but no. So yeah, I do breakdowns of hockey and basketball as well. So I'm in all of them right now.
All right, awesome. And hockey is probably the best program at Michigan at the moment. So, so go check out everything he's got throughout the winter. Even after football season, he'll have it all up there. And hopefully we can have him on again. So thanks again for listening. You can follow us at Blue by 90 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, as well as at Blue by 90 podcast on YouTube. We have one guy on that listens to us that was pissed that we stopped doing YouTube. So shout out Indigo.
This one's for you.
Hopefully he's pumped. Yeah. So, all right, we'll see you later this week. Michigan plays. Let's see, Michigan hockey. I don't know if they play after today.
They've won series against Minnesota, I believe. Ooh. Coming up in I think that's this upcoming weekend. Give me a second.
And then I know basketball plays. I believe it's Sunday. They play UCF, which UCF is I think a decently legit basketball team. And then they have the ACC challenge next week, I believe. I don't know. I sound like I have no fucking clue. So I have no fucking clue.
December 8th and 9th for hockey against Minnesota. So that's next Tuesday, Wednesday.
There you go. I'm actually loving like midweek sports right now. Awesome.
It's amazing.
Oh yeah.
We had Wednesday NFL yesterday.
Awesome.
I mean, the
Steelers, 11-0?
Yeah, Steelers 11-0. It's filling my Maction void, which is thank God, because Maction is just the greatest sport of all time. So it's a different sport than actual football. It's completely different. So, all right. Thanks for listening, guys. This was a long one. If you made it all the way through, props to you. Thanks again. We'll talk to you guys later.
Go Blue.